Hello everyone! Welcome to the Fulton County Library System Streaming Storytime. My name is Miss Adrienne and I'm the Children's Librarian at the Adams Park branch. Today's story time, we're going to read some books on different kind of animals. We're going to read Goodnight Owl by Greg Pizzoli, Bark George by Jules Pfeiffer, and Duck on a Bike by David Shannon. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that these three books, the books we will read today, are available on curbside pickup. Also, Duck on a Bike and Goodnight Owl are available on eReads Kids, and Bark George is available on the Hoopla app. I also wanted to mention that in the, if you could please write in the comments section the ages of your children, which stories they liked, and which songs they enjoyed. Okay, let's go ahead and get started, and we're gonna sing, our first song is called If You're Ready, and it's sung to a tune that you probably already know if you're happy and you know it. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, make your hands nice and neat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Let's sing it again. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, make your hands nice and neat. If you're ready for a story, take a seat. Okay, let's get started with reading Goodnight Owl by Greg Pizzoli. Owl was settling into bed when he heard a noise. Squeak. It was a tiny sound, no louder than a whisper, a funny noise he hadn't heard before. Someone must be at the door, said Owl. Just a minute. Who do we see down here? But no one was there. Probably the wind, said Owl. And he lay down in bed and said to himself, "Good night, Owl." Squeak! Then he heard the noise again. "It's coming from the cupboard," said Owl. So he went to take a look. He emptied every shelf, but there was no noise to be found. So Owl went back to bed. "Good night, Owl," he said. Look down here, who do we see? And then he heard the noise, squeak. "It must be under the floor," said Owl. And he pulled up the floorboards one by one. But he didn't find the noise. So Owl went back to bed. Squeak! "This house has a noisy roof," yelled Owl. And he took down the roof. "There," said Owl, "no more noise." Owl got back into bed, the stars and the moon shining down where his roof used to be. "Good night, Owl," he said. But Owl didn't close his eyes. He didn't care. He knew that any second he would hear the noise. He waited and waited and waited and waited. Squeak! "It's in the walls," Owl squeaked. "I'll get you, Noise," Owl said as he tore down the walls of the house. But he found nothing. The cupboard was empty. The floorboards were pulled up. The roof was pulled down, and the walls were gone. Owl went back to bed, and he said, "Good night, Owl." And then he saw the noise. Squeak! Owl smiled. He said, "Good night, Noise." And they went to sleep. The end. If you liked that story, let me know in the comments section. Okay, let's sing another song that you probably know, Bingo. There was an old man who had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Oh, there was an old man who had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, I-N-G-O, N-G-O, I-N-G-O, and Bingo was his name. Oh, there was an old man who had a dog, and Bingo was his name. Oh, N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Oh. Okay, let's read our next story, Bark George by Jules Pfeiffer. George's mother said, "Bark, George." George went, "Meow." "No, George," said George's mother. "Cats go meow. Dogs go arf. Now bark, George." George went, "Quack, quack." "No, George," said George's mother. "Ducks go quack, quack. Dogs go arf. Now bark, George." George went, oink. "No, George," said George's mother. "Pigs go oink. Dogs go arf. Now bark, George." George went, moo. Now, George's mother took George to the vet. "I'll soon get to the bottom of this," said the vet. "Please bark, George." George went, meow. The vet reached deep down inside of George and pulled out a cat. "Bark again, George." George went, quack, quack. The vet reached deep, deep down inside of George, and George pulled out a duck. "Bark again, George." George went, oink. The vet reached deep, deep, deep down inside of George and pulled out a pig. "Bark again, George." George went, moo. The vet put on his longest latex glove. Then he reached deep, 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 deep deep down inside of George and pulled out a cow. Look at his mom. Bark again, George. George went, arf. George's mother was so thrilled that she kissed the vet and the cat and the duck and the pig and the cow. On the way home, she wanted to show George off to everyone on the street, so she said, bark, George, and George went, hello. The end. If you liked, let me know in the comment section which animals you liked in Bark George. Okay. We're going to read our third story for today, Duck on a Bike by David Shannon. One day, down on the farm, Duck got a wild idea. I bet I could ride a bike, he thought. He waddled over to where the boy parked his bike, climbed on, and began to ride. At first, he rode very slowly and he wobbled a lot, but it was fun. Duck rode past Cow and waved to her. Hello, Cow, said Duck. Moo, said Cow. But what she thought was a duck on a bike? That's the silliest thing I've ever seen. Then Duck rode past Sheep. Hello, Sheep, said Duck. Bah, said Sheep. But what she thought was, he's going to hurt himself on that. He's going to hurt himself if he's not careful. Duck was riding better now. He rode past Dog. Hello, Dog, said Duck. Woof, said Dog. But what he thought was, that is a mighty neat trick. Then Duck rode past Cat. Hello, Cat, said Duck. Meow, said Cat. But what she thought was, I wouldn't waste my time riding a bike. Duck pedaled a little faster. He rode past Horse. Hello, Horse, said Duck. Nay, said Horse. But what he thought was, you're still not as fast as Duck. Duck rang the bell as he rode towards Chicken. Hello, Chicken, said Duck. Cluck, cluck, said Chicken. But what she thought was, watch where you're going, Duck. Then Duck rode past Goat. Hello, Goat, said Duck. Ma, said Goat. But what he thought was, I'd like to eat that bike. Duck stood on the seat and rode past Pig and Pig. Hello, Pig, said Duck. Oink, said Pig and Pig. But what they thought was, Duck is such a show-off. Then Duck rode no hands past Mouse. Hello, Mouse, said Duck. Squeak, said Mouse. But what he thought was, I wish I could ride a bike just like Duck. Suddenly, a whole bunch of kids came down the road on bikes. They were in such a hurry that they didn't see Duck. They parked their bikes by the house and went inside. Look who we see. We see pigs and the goat, the dog, the sheep, the cow, the horse, the cat, and they're all looking at the bike. Now all the animals had bikes. They rode around and around the barnyard. This is fun, they all said. Good idea, Duck. Then they put the bikes back by the house, and no one knew that on that afternoon there had been a cow, a sheep, a dog, a cat, a horse, a chicken, a goat, 2 pigs, a mouse, and a duck on a bike. The end. Okay, let me know which stories, which animals you liked in this story. And also mention in there if you have a bike that you ride at home. Okay, before we end story time, we're gonna sing our goodbye song, and it goes to a tune that you probably already know. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Thank you for coming to story time, story time, story time. Thank you for coming to story time. Let's have a great day. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's story time, streaming story time, and I hope you have a nice day and come back tomorrow for another streaming story time. Bye.